Welcome back to Ranch Beat, where every country song has a story, and we tell it. I'm James, and today we're going to do something you can actually use the next time you listen to a chorus. Learn a timing ear to hear when a singer nudges a syllable a hair ahead, drags it back, or breathes in a way that makes a line land like truth. Here's what most people don't know. Half the feeling of a country vocal lives in those tiny timing choices.
Quick hook. I'm going to do 2 tiny vocal demos of the same line so you can hear the difference. First, a tight on-the-beat take. I woke up on the wrong side of the dawn. Now, with a subtle layback, just a hair late. I woke up on the wrong side of the dawn. Which one felt more honest to you? Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most people pick the laid-back one as true. We'll unpack why.
In plain terms, for the fast overview, microtiming is the tiny shift of a syllable or note ahead of or behind the beat. Rubato is a broader, elastic stretch of timing, breathing with the phrase. Layback means singing fractionally behind the beat. A push, or micro-push, is the opposite, nudging a syllable forward. Today, we'll cover 3 case studies. An older master where layback sells confession, a 90s radio single tightened so it sounds polished but less intimate, and a contemporary roots performance that uses micro-pushes to pull the crowd in. Stick with me. By the end, you'll have one simple question to ask in the first chorus that trains your timing ear. First, a little context. Recording technology shaped how timing mattered. When everything was cut to tape and a live take was the only master, singers had to deliver timing with the performance. As comping and tape edits got more common, and later digital comping, the tiny millisecond choices became something you could edit, choose, or even manufacture. Different eras and scenes treated timing differently. Classic country and roots music often celebrate slight laybacks as emotional honesty. Radio-focused production in the 90s leaned toward tighter timing to sit cleanly in the mix and translate on AM/FM. International scenes added their own flavors, but the through line is this. As technology made timing visible and editable, producers and engineers began to make decisions that shaped how intimate a vocal sounded.
Case Study 1. Layback as confession. Here's what most people don't know. That weary-sounding vocal you think is a singer feeling it may be a deliberate micro-layback chosen in the studio, or a choice the singer always made in demos. In one vintage example we'll reference in the show notes, session stems and an engineer interview confirmed the singer kept the line slightly behind the groove in the demo and the master. Why does it work? Because a tiny delay lets consonants and vowel shapes breathe. It creates the impression the singer is thinking about what they're saying. That hesitation reads as private, like a confession whispered after the band holds the beat. When you can't get stems, look for demo to master timings, liner notes, and engineer quotes before asserting intentionality. If you only have the master, treat your reading as informed and invite correction. I'll point to our sources in the show notes.
Case Study 2. Radio tightening that polished the truth away. Now this is where it gets interesting. In the 90s and early 2000s, producers often tightened vocals during comping to make radio mix better. Snip out breaths, align syllables to an invisible grid. On paper, it made everything cleaner, but when you compare a raw demo to the radio master, you sometimes lose the little timing choices that made a line feel candid. I've got an example where a producer later admitted the vocal was tightened to fit the beat, and you can hear the intimacy drop in the released version. The takeaway? Tighter isn't always truer. We'll link to the interviews and timeline evidence in the show notes so you can verify the claim yourself. Case Study 3. Modern micro-pushes that invite crowd. Fast forward to a contemporary roots singer leaning into micro-pushes, those tiny ahead-of-the-beat nudges that cue call and response and make a live audience lean forward. In isolated live stems or in performer interviews, you'll sometimes find singers describing this as a deliberate device, an invitation rather than an emotional spill. The push gives the band a moment to snap into a response, and for the listener, it reads as excitement or urgency. We'll point to isolated live stems and performer notes so you can see how this is intentionally used as a performance cue. Who's behind these moves? Short answer, everyone. Singers phrase first. Many timing choices start in the voice. Producers suggest nudges or tightenings in comping sessions. Engineers perform edits and comping in a DAW.
Session players react to phrasing and sometimes shift their groove around a singer's vocal idiosyncrasy. If you want to verify who did what, look for multitrack stems, DAW session notes released in reissues, engineer or producer interviews, and demo to master comparisons. And again, if the documentary evidence isn't there, say so. Present your reading as interpretation, backed by whatever sources you can find.
Drama and myths. Let's avoid the trap of saying timing is a trick that fakes emotion. Timing choices are expressive tools, not cheap illusions. When we find isolated stems or engineer interviews, we can say with confidence, this was edited, or this was performed this way. When we don't, we frame readings as likely or possible, and cite the single source evidence in the show notes. We're not trying to expose magic, we're trying to understand craft, and part of that is being honest about what we know and what we infer.
Music notes. For non-musicians, if technical words make your head spin, here's a simple way to listen. Pick one lyric line in the chorus. Tap a steady beat. Use your foot or a metronome app. Notice whether the singer's stressed syllables land exactly on your taps, slightly before or slightly after. Lean into syllables. How long does the vowel hang? Is the consonant release crisp or delayed? Think of layback like exhaling before pressing a doorbell. You're arriving late on purpose. Think of a push like stepping ahead to get someone's attention. Those simple, repeatable cues are your timing ear.
Listening Lab, a guided exercise you can do anywhere. Step 1. Pick a chorus from a song you love. Step 2. Find the downbeat by tapping your foot or using a simple metronome app. Keep it steady. Step 3. On the first big vocal line, listen to where the stressed syllable sits relative to your tap. Is it on, behind, or ahead? Step 4. Sing the line yourself twice. Once exactly on the beat, once with a slight layback. Does the layback feel more honest? Repeat with a micro push and notice how the feeling changes. No fancy gear required, just your ears and a willingness to compare. If you want to go deeper, send us the timing moment you want decoded, and we'll pick a few to analyze in future episodes. Before we wrap, here's the single timing ear question I want you to carry into the first chorus. Does the singer land the stressed syllable on, in front of, or behind the beat? And how does that placement change how honest the line sounds? Ask that once, and you'll hear timing choices everywhere. Now you'll never hear that chorus the same way again. Quick production and sourcing note. Whenever I make a claim about a demo, stem, or engineer quote, I require at least one public source before presenting it as fact. When evidence is thinner, I present competing explanations, performer habit versus post-production edit, and we link everything in the show notes. If you disagree or can add a source, we're listening. That's part of the craft. We read carefully and correct loudly when needed. Wrap up. Microtiming isn't secret magic. It's a craft choice that shapes honesty. Sometimes a tiny layback sells a confession. Sometimes a tight edit makes a chorus radio-friendly. Sometimes a little push makes a crowd lean in. Your timing ear is the simplest tool to start noticing those choices and appreciating the craft behind what sounds like feeling. And next time a lyric hits you in the chest, you can ask that one question and actually point to why it landed. All right. If you like this episode, please subscribe to Ranch Beat, rate us, tell a friend, and most of all, send the timing moment you want to code it. Pick a first chorus line. Tell us whether you hear a layback, push, or tight on-beat delivery, and we might break it down in a future episode. You'll find the submission link and all the source citations in the show notes. Ranch Beat. Every country song has a story, and we tell it.